The rain began just after sunset. It fell in slow, silver threads over the dark pine forest, turning the narrow dirt roads into slick ribbons of mud. Wind whispered through the trees, bending branches low as if the forest itself were hiding secrets. Elira Whitmore pulled her worn gray cloak tighter around her shoulders and hurried along the path toward the village. She wasn't supposed to be out this late, not alone, not near the border, but herbs didn't care about danger and neither did hunger. The small pouch tied to her belt was filled with moonroot leaves and frost berries, rare ingredients that only grew near the northern ridge. If she sold them at the market tomorrow, she could buy enough food to last 2 weeks, if she didn't get caught. The northern ridge belonged to the Alpha King's territory, and rogues had been seen nearby. Elira quickened her pace. The forest felt wrong tonight, too quiet, no insects, no owls, no distant wolf calls, only the rain. Then a sound, a low, pained growl. Elira froze. Her heart slammed against her ribs. Another sound followed, heavier this time. Something dragging across wet leaves. Her instinct screamed at her to run. Instead, she turned, because Elira Whitmore had always had one dangerous flaw. She could never walk away from someone in pain. "Hello," she called softly. No answer, only the rain. Then lightning flashed across the sky, and for a single bright second she saw him. A man collapsed beside a fallen cedar tree. Blood soaked his black shirt, one arm lay twisted beneath him. Deep claw marks tore across his shoulder as if something enormous had attacked him. Elira gasped and rushed forward. The moment she reached him, she felt it. Power, not normal, not human. Not even ordinary wolf. This man carried the scent of authority, of dominance, of something ancient. Her hands trembled. "Who did this to you?" she whispered. He didn't answer. He was unconscious. His breathing was shallow. Too shallow. If she left him here, he would die before sunrise. And yet helping him could get her killed. If he was part of the Alpha King's pack, she had no right to even be this close. She was a nobody from the outer village, unranked, unclaimed, and invisible. If he was a rogue, even worse. Elira swallowed hard. "Fine," she murmured. "I'm already in trouble anyway." Dragging him was nearly impossible. He was tall, broad, shouldered and heavy with muscle. Rain made the ground slippery, and twice Elira nearly fell trying to pull him upright. But she refused to give up. Step by step, breath by breath, she guided him toward the old abandoned hunting cabin hidden between the trees, a place no one visited anymore. By the time they reached it, her arms burned and her lungs ached. Inside, the cabin smelled of dust and damp wood. Elira quickly lit a small lantern. Golden light filled the room. Now she could finally see him clearly. And her breath caught. He was striking, sharp jawline, dark hair soaked with rain, thick brows drawn slightly together even in unconsciousness. A faint scar ran across his cheek, old, healed, and dangerous. But it wasn't his looks that made her pulse quicken. It was the marks on his body. The wounds were brutal. Deep claw slashes, far too large for a normal wolf. Rogue Alpha. The realization sent cold fear through her chest. Whatever attacked him was powerful. And this man had survived, barely. "Stay with me," Elira whispered, though he couldn't hear her. She quickly moved into action. Her hands worked with practiced precision, cleaning wounds, crushing moonroot leaves into paste, wrapping cloth strips around his shoulder. Elira had learned healing from her grandmother before she passed away. It was the only skill she had. The only thing that made her useful, the only reason people tolerated her existence. The stranger groaned suddenly. Elira froze, his eyes flickered, but didn't open, still unconscious, still fighting. She leaned closer to check his breathing, and that's when it happened. His hand shot out and grabbed her wrist, hard, strong, terrifyingly strong. Elira gasped, his eyes opened. Golden, not normal wolf, gold, brighter, deeper, commanding. For a moment, the world seemed to stop. The rain, the wind, even her heartbeat, everything faded under the intensity of his gaze. "Who are you?" he rasped. His voice was low and rough, edged with pain and power. Elira tried to pull her wrist back, but his grip tightened slightly. "Not threatening, just instinctive. I found you in the forest," she said quickly. You were bleeding, I brought you here." His eyes studied her face carefully. Slowly, as if memorizing her, something shifted in his expression, confusion, then curiosity, then recognition. "Impossible, they had never met. You shouldn't be here," he said quietly. "I know." Silence fell between them. Rain tapped against the wooden roof, the lantern flickered. His gaze dropped briefly to the bandages on his shoulder, then returned to her. "You treated me, yes. Why?" Elira blinked. Why, no one had ever asked her that before, because most people already knew the answer. Because she was the girl who helped everyone, and belonged nowhere. "I couldn't leave you," she said softly. Something changed in his eyes again. Something deeper, something dangerous. His grip slowly loosened. But he didn't let go completely. "What's your name?" he asked Elira. The moment she said it, a strange tension filled the air. Like the forest itself had gone still, his wolf reacted. She felt it. A powerful energy pulsed beneath his skin. His eyes darkened slightly. "Elira," he repeated. Her name sounded different in his voice, stronger. Like it meant something, like it mattered. Then suddenly his expression sharpened, alert, focused. "Dangerous, listen to me," he said, his voice suddenly firm despite his injuries. "You need to leave now." "What?" "Before sunrise." Elira frowned. "You're still injured. Leave." The word carried authority, alpha authority. It hit her like pressure against her chest. And that's when she realized something. Something terrifying. Something impossible. Only one wolf carried that level of command. Only one. Her pulse began to race. "No," she whispered. His eyes met hers, silent, knowing, too powerful. Too calm, too controlled. Realization struck her like lightning. Her breath stopped. She whispered. But before she could finish, a distant howl echoed through the forest. Deep, loud, pack call, not one wolf. Many searching, coming closer. Elira's eyes widened. The stranger's jaw tightened. "They found me." Fear surged through her chest. "Who are they?" He didn't answer immediately. Instead, he slowly released her wrist, but his gaze never left her face. "They are my pack." Elira's heart skipped, then pounded violently, and when he finally spoke the next words, her entire world changed. "I am their alpha." The lantern flickered, thunder rolled across the sky, and outside dozens of wolves were approaching. Elira stumbled backward. The alpha. She had risked everything for the alpha king, and if the pack discovered she had touched him, treated him, seen him weak, she could be punished. Or worse, claimed. The alpha's golden eyes softened slightly as he watched fear cross her face. "Go," he said quietly. "Before they arrive," but Elira didn't move, because something strange had just happened. Something she didn't understand. Something she couldn't ignore. For a brief second, when their eyes met, she felt it. A pull, warm, deep, unavoidable, the kind of feeling every wolf feared and dreamed of, the kind that changed fate forever. The mate bond? Elira's breath trembled. "No," she whispered softly, but it was already too late. Outside, the pack had arrived. And tomorrow, the Alpha King would come searching for the girl who saved his life. The first wolf reached the cabin before Elira could move. Heavy paws struck the wet earth outside. Low growls vibrated through the wooden walls like distant thunder. Elira's pulse spiked. The Alpha was still weak. She could feel it. His strength hadn't fully returned, yet the power radiating from him filled the entire room like invisible fire. He pushed himself upright despite the wounds. Every movement looked painful but controlled, dominant. "Unbreakable, Elira," he said quietly, her name again, softer this time, stronger. It sent an unfamiliar warmth through her chest. "You must leave through the back, but there is no time." Another howl echoed, closer now. Voices followed, human voices shifting between command and concern. "They're here, Alpha," Elira's breath caught. The Alpha King turned toward the door, his expression transforming completely. The vulnerability vanished. In its place stood authority, cold, sharp, untouchable, a ruler. The change was so sudden it stunned her. Just moments ago, he had been a wounded stranger. Now he looked like a king, born from storm and shadow. He glanced at her one last time. Something unreadable flickered in his golden eyes. "Go," he repeated. This time Elira obeyed. The back door creaked softly as she slipped into the forest. Rain still fell, though lighter now. The sky had begun to fade from black into deep gray. Dawn was approaching. Her boots slid against wet leaves as she hurried downhill, her heart pounding louder with every step. What had she just done? She had touched the Alpha King, healed him, spoken to him, looked directly into his eyes. And worst of all, she had felt it. That pull, that impossible connection, the mate bond, no. She whispered again, shaking her head as if she could physically push the thought away. That couldn't be real. Fate didn't choose girls like her. Elira Whitmore was invisible, packless, powerless, unwanted. There was no way the moon goddess would pair her with the most powerful wolf in the entire territory. And yet her wrist still burned where he had held her. Back at the cabin, the front door burst open. 3 wolves shifted into human form as they entered, water dripping from their bodies. The tallest stepped forward immediately. Alpha, relief filled his voice. The Alpha King stood near the lantern, fully upright now, though his bandaged shoulder was still stained with blood. "I'm fine," he said calmly, but his beta clearly didn't believe him. "You were attacked by a rogue, Alpha. We tracked your scent until it suddenly vanished. What happened?" The Alpha's gaze briefly moved toward the back door, toward the path Elira had taken. For a moment, something softened in his expression. Then it disappeared. "I was helped." The beta blinked. "Helped, yes. By who?" Silence filled the room. Rain tapped gently against the roof. The Alpha didn't answer immediately, because he didn't know, not fully. He only knew one thing, her name, Elira, and the memory of her scent, soft, warm, wild like moonlight through pine trees. His wolf stirred inside him again, restless, alert, searching. Mate, the word echoed through his mind. Low, certain, impossible to ignore, the Alpha's jaw tightened. He had lived 32 years without finding his mate. Most Alphas never did. And yet last night, while bleeding in the rain, fate had placed her directly in his path. A human-looking girl with healer's hands and fearless eyes. A girl who didn't recognize him at first. A girl who risked everything for a stranger. "Alpha," the beta asked again. The Alpha finally spoke. "I want every village searched." The room went still. The beta frowned. "For rogues, no." The Alpha's golden eyes darkened slightly. For her, Elira reached the outer village just as sunrise broke across the hills. Golden light spilled over the rooftops, painting the small wooden homes in warm color. Normally, the sight brought her comfort. Today, it brought fear. She slipped quietly into her small cottage at the edge of the village and shut the door behind her. Silence, safe, alone. Her body finally relaxed, and the exhaustion hit all at once. She slid down against the door and sat on the floor, breathing hard. Her hands trembled, not from the cold, from memory, his voice, his eyes, the way he had said her name. Elira pressed her palm against her chest. Her heart was still racing. "Get it together," she whispered. It didn't mean anything. It couldn't. The Alpha King probably wouldn't even remember her. He had been injured. Weak, disoriented. By now he was back in his palace, surrounded by warriors and advisors and powerful wolves. Girls like her didn't exist in his world, and that was good. That was safe. That was... A loud knock exploded against her door. Elira jumped. Her heart nearly stopped. Another knock followed. Harder, more urgent. Elira opened the door. Her blood turned cold. She recognized that voice. It was Rowan, the village guard. Why would he? Elira. She forced herself to stand and slowly opened the door. Rowan stood there, slightly out of breath. But it wasn't his expression that terrified her. It was what he said next. "The Alpha King's pack is here." Everything inside her froze. What? They're searching the entire village. Her pulse roared in her ears. "Searching? No, 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 no. That's impossible," she whispered, but Rowan shook his head. "There are at least 20 warriors and the beta himself." The world tilted. Elira grabbed the doorframe to steady herself. This couldn't be happening. He couldn't actually be looking for her. Rowan studied her face carefully. "Elira, what did you do?" Her throat went dry, because at that exact moment, a deep, powerful voice echoed from the center of the village. A voice she recognized instantly, even after only hearing it once. "Bring me everyone, the Alpha King." He was here, and suddenly Elira realized the truth. She hadn't just saved a stranger last night. She had changed her fate forever. The entire village had gathered in the central square. Men, women, elders, and children stood in uneasy silence beneath the pale morning sun. The air felt heavy, charged with tension and fear. At the center stood the Alpha King. Even from a distance, Allura could feel his presence. Power radiated from him like heat from fire. He looked nothing like the wounded stranger from last night. His black coat hung sharply over broad shoulders. His posture was straight, commanding. The bandage beneath his collar was hidden, but she noticed the slight stiffness in his movement. He was still injured, but no one else seemed to see it. To the village, he looked unstoppable, untouchable. Royal, Allura remained near the back of the crowd, her hood pulled low over her face. Her heart pounded so loudly she was certain the wolves could hear it. "Don't look at him. Don't move. Don't breathe." The beta stepped forward and spoke loudly. "Last night, someone in this village helped our Alpha." Murmurs spread instantly. Confusion, fear, curiosity. The beta's sharp eyes scanned the crowd. "We are here to find that person." Allura's stomach dropped. Her fingers tightened around the edge of her cloak. The Alpha King said nothing. He simply watched, observed, waited, and somehow that silence was more terrifying than any threat. The beta continued. "Our Alpha was attacked by a rogue. Whoever helped him likely saw injuries, blood, and signs of battle. Step forward now." No one moved. A cold breeze swept through the square. Allura kept her gaze lowered, forcing herself to remain still. If she stayed quiet, this would pass. It had to. She was just one girl, one invisible girl. The Alpha King had probably already forgotten her face. Then it happened. A sudden pulse of energy moved through the air. Subtle, but powerful. Allura felt it instantly. Her breath caught the mate bond. Her body reacted before her mind could stop it. Her heartbeat sped up. Warmth spread across her chest. And at the same moment, the Alpha King lifted his head. His golden eyes moved across the crowd. Slowly, carefully, searching, not randomly, intentionally. Like he was following something invisible. Like he could feel her. No, he couldn't. Allura stepped backward slightly, trying to blend behind two taller villagers. But the moment she moved, his eyes locked onto her. The world stopped, sound disappeared, time slowed. Even from across the square, the connection hit her like lightning. Recognition, certainty, power. His gaze sharpened. And then he began walking toward her. Each step was slow, controlled, unavoidable. The crowd parted instantly. No one dared stand in his path. Allura's heart slammed violently against her ribs. Run. The thought screamed inside her mind. But her feet refused to move. That invisible pull wrapped around her like chains, closer, closer, closer. Until he stood directly in front of her, only a few feet away. Her breath trembled. She kept her head lowered, hoping, desperately, that he might hesitate. That he might doubt himself, that he might turn away. But instead he spoke, Allura, her name, soft. Certain, final, gasps erupted around them. Allura's eyes widened. Slowly, reluctantly, she lifted her gaze. Their eyes met, and everything came rushing back. The rain, the cabin, his hand gripping her wrist. The warmth, the pull, the impossible bond. The Alpha King studied her face as if confirming something he already knew. His expression softened for a fraction of a second. Relief, then pride, then something far more dangerous. "Possession, you helped me," he said quietly. It wasn't a question. Allura swallowed. Yes. The entire square fell silent. Shock spread through the villagers. The invisible healer girl, the quiet outcast, the one everyone overlooked, had saved the Alpha King. The beta stepped forward, surprised. This is the girl. But the Alpha didn't answer him. He never looked away from Allura. Instead, he took one step closer. Allura's pulse spiked. She could feel the mate bond reacting stronger now. Warmer, brighter, undeniable. He noticed it too. She saw the moment it clicked completely. The moment instinct took over. The moment the wolf inside him recognized what fate had chosen. His voice dropped lower, rougher, more intense. "You risked your life for me." Allura shook her head slightly. "I didn't know it was you." A faint smile touched his lips. "That makes it even more dangerous." Her breath caught. The air between them felt electric. Then suddenly, the Alpha King turned toward the entire village. His presence expanded, powerful and commanding. Every wolf in the area instinctively lowered their heads. Even the humans felt the pressure. Silence fell like a heavy curtain. And then he spoke the words that would change Allura's life forever. "She is under my protection." Shock rippled through the crowd. Allura blinked protection. Before she could even process it, he turned back to her. Golden eyes burning with certainty, but he wasn't finished, not even close, because the next words came softer. More personal, more dangerous than anything he had said before. "And soon she will stand beside me." Allura's heart stopped. The meaning hit instantly. Luna, he was talking about making her his Luna. Panic surged through her chest. "No," but before she could finish, a sharp voice suddenly cut through the crowd. Cold, angry, furious. "That will never happen." The atmosphere shifted instantly. Danger flooded the square. Allura turned toward the voice and her blood ran cold. Because standing at the edge of the crowd was a woman dressed in deep crimson, elegant, powerful, beautiful, and absolutely furious. Her eyes burned with jealousy. The beta stepped back slightly. Even he looked tense. Allura's voice barely came out. "Who is she?" The Alpha King's expression hardened instantly. Storm, dark, dangerous, complicated. When he spoke, his voice carried warning. "That is Lady Seraphine." The woman took a slow step forward. Her gaze locked directly onto Allura, sharp as blades. "And I," Seraphine said coldly, "am the woman already chosen to be Luna." The world seemed to shatter beneath Allura's feet. The mate bond pulsed again, stronger, hotter, more undeniable than ever. But now so did danger. Because the girl who had risked everything for a stranger had just stepped into a war for the Alpha King's heart.